Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Hey, Thrive Out listeners, Lou Diamond here. You're going to enjoy this episode pulled from Bedside Readings Authors That Thrive, featuring David Crow. David spent his early years on the Navajo Indian Reservation in Arizona and New Mexico, and through grit, resilience, and a thirst for learning, he managed to escape his abusive childhood, graduate from college, and build a successful lobbying firm in Washington, D.C. So sit back and relax and enjoy this episode pulled from Bedside Readings Authors That Thrive with David Crow here on Thrive Loud.
Welcome to Bedside Readings Authors That Thrive, a podcast show that provides you exclusive access to top writers around the globe and how they are thriving through their writing, their passions, and their lives. Here's your host, Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to Bedside Readings Authors That Thrive, connecting you to amazing authors that are thriving through their work and in their lives each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today, we have a sought-after public speaker, writer, and mentor, captivating audiences with his fresh take on political events in American history and his unforgettable stories about his childhood on the Navajo Indian Reservation. He is the author of Pale-Faced Lie, and I know you'll be excited to learn about his personal journey. Please welcome David Crow. David, how are you today?
Very well, Lou. Thank you, and really delighted to be on.
David, you have a great story, and it's a personal one. If you could share with our listeners a little bit about your own personal journey, because that is instrumental in understanding how Pale-Faced Lie came to be.
Thank you, Lou. Well, I was born 9 months after my dad got out of San Quentin Penitentiary for a crime that could have gotten him the death penalty. He fled to the Navajo Indian Reservation because he didn't have to check the violent felony box because no one would check your references. And he thought that his accomplice would never find him there. He's right on both counts. My first memory is with a car ride with my dad just before 4 years old, where he says, "We have to get rid of your mother."
Wow. Powerful right out of the gate.
And it went downhill from there.
You grew up on a reservation and obviously have had a challenging life within that. What can you share with the listeners some of the other challenges you personally had to go through? Not just that, which is a hell of a way to start.
It is. So we lived on the part of the reservation for a good chunk of the time I was there where only Navajos are supposed to live. And these were I was in the first school system in the 50s and 60s that was integrated. The schools before were boarding houses where the Navajos had been rounded up, heads shaved, mouths washed out with soap, told that their religion made them heathens, and they're forced to embrace Christianity and forget all things Indian. And the slogan was, "You have to kill the Indian to save the man." So I went to school with their kids, and they were very unhappy with how the government had treated their parents. They didn't want to be in the school system, and they saw anybody that didn't look like them, they didn't like them. It was a very tough place to start. I do want to add that over time, as I got to know them, and as they understood that we weren't just going to come for 2 years and leave, that I developed friendships that I have to this very day, most powerful friendships of my life. And my greatest lesson as a child, outside of my parents, was that over time, if you are good to somebody, they're good to you back, that your color, your religion, your race doesn't matter, that people are just people. And those guys are the best friends I ever had. Worst start, best ending that I can think of, insofar as it goes with the Navajos. Not so much with my family, but with the Navajo Indians, very much so.
David, was at an early age, were you able to see the racism and inequities and injustices that were around you? Was that something you were able to pick up at a very young age?
By the time I could breathe, walk, and talk, I could see the incredible unfairness. You saw families walking it looked like hundreds of miles with the old, the young. They were poor, many of them malnourished. The alcoholism was rampant. In the early days, the Navajos were paid in cases of whiskey, and you'd see Navajo men lying on the ground, and you could tell if they were dead because their lips were blue, and the police and the locals, we called them popsicles.
So real and so vivid at such an early age, and I'm sure throughout your life.
Yes.
As you grew up and as you stepped outside of the reservation and went out into life, can you share with the listeners how you, with that background, how you're able to equate what maybe you saw around you or your perception of others or people being different in other parts of the world? Because it'd be interesting to understand the dichotomy maybe of what you came from and where you're at.
Yeah, that's a great question, Lou. So I've been really lucky in my lobbying life. I have a small government relations company in Washington. We do business in several countries, do business in all 50 states. I think my childhood gave me a great perspective on how to see the world from another person's point of view, not your own point of view. First understand, then try to be understood. And that was powerfully ingrained. The other thing that was powerfully ingrained is people are just people. If you're kind to them, honest with them, and you treat them with equality and respect, over time, they'll do the same for you. A lot of the racism I see in the world and I grew up with melted away as I got to know the people that didn't like me, and I liked them and they liked me. And then next thing you know, my Navajo brethren treated me like I was Navajo. And I've carried that lesson through life. And I think it's helped me a lot in my business life and in my personal life. Try to connect with any person on their level, not talking down to them, try to understand them, and friendship will blossom.
I love that message. In writing Paleface Lie, which by the way is a wonderful title and maybe one of the better ones out there, was it painful, challenging, or therapeutic as you captured your story in this book?
All three. First, I had to get my siblings' permission, and I changed their names. I made very few changes. The book's 100% accurate. Their names are changed, and I changed the name of one small town at the end of the book, where the reader will learn how I stopped my father from murdering my stepmother. The reader will have to figure that out. But in writing it, it was, by the time I actually wrote it, I had forgiven my parents. I'd reconnected as an adult with all my Navajo childhood friends. It was kind of after I healed. And the book reflects that, I think. In the end, I think it's a hopeful, endearing message. But it was very painful to write it. It was very therapeutic to write it. And now that it's done, I almost can't believe it, that's the person, that I'm that person in that book.
Yeah, and I know how you've shared your key takeaway here and the ability to connect with other individuals and what kindness can do for you. I love asking creators, if you would, authors, thought leaders, people who come up with brilliant ideas who have an important message to deliver and are thriving each and every day, that we all recognize we have off days. And you obviously started off with some really challenging ones at an early age. When you have trouble thriving, what practice do you seek or individual do you seek out to get back on the thriving track?
Well, I have in my book 7 angels that guided me through life. The first 2 are full-blooded Navajo Indians. And my first angel was a woman named Evelyn, who was about 80 when I met her, when I was about 10. Her grandmother was 4 and walked back from the long walk where all the Navajos were slaughtered and dragged to Fort Sumner. And then the few survivors came back to what the reservation is today. And she said she learned to forgive. She learned to live in harmony, which is a big Navajo concept. I think about Evelyn, my Little League baseball coach and 4-H teacher, Rex Kuntz. He taught me to be fair, to be honest, and to be accountable. I think about Rex, and then I think about the other angels I had that somehow reached through all of my chaos and all of my troubles and loved me enough to guide me through and get me through life. Those were really the big things. I read constantly. I ran constantly to get rid of excess energy. I was the town's paper boy. So I delivered 5 newspapers a day, including Navajo Times, tried to talk to every adult who would talk to me. And I tried to absorb the goodness around me to overcome the evil that I lived in.
David, when you speak and you share your message of your story, or when you're acting as a mentor, even in your business, is there one particular question that people come to you most often with where you're able to be that mentor that they need, not just as the message you deliver in your writing, but also in the work that you've done through your life?
Yeah, I've had 250 interns that I've mentored. So the question they come to me is, why did you forgive and why did you write the book? Well, I learned too late in life, perhaps, that if you're not able to forgive those who did injustice to you, then you're not getting that evil out of your head. And once you forgive the people who did things to you that they shouldn't have, whether they acknowledge it or not important, because that's on them, not on you. You begin to forgive yourself, because when you go up in a life like I had, at some point you think it's your fault, that you deserve all this, and you feel guilt and shame. And those are terrible things to carry around. And you didn't do any of this. It was done to you. So when I talk to people, I'll say, yeah, you feel guilty. You feel ashamed. You feel terrible. You shouldn't. But the forgiveness process, forgiving the others and then you, will open the door to a much better life, because you get a lot of what I call the cobwebs in your subconscious. You clean them out. And I think that's the biggest, because that's a beginning. Then you can grow and learn and put other things in your brain other than the hate that was given to you. And it can change your life, and it changed mine.
David, we'll share all of the contact info at the end of the message and where people can find you and where they can obviously get Pale-Faced Lie. Wanted to hit some fun or more personal questions here. As you went through this process, you speak, you write, you mentor. You get to pick one of those things on one day that you liked. Is there something that stands out more often than not? Is like, if you can choose to what you do, some people love writing, some people love speaking, some people love doing the work they do. What's your favorite thing you get one thing to do in that day?
I love writing. I like public speaking. The day-to-day work, I've been doing it a long, long time. Don't want my clients to think I don't love it. I do, but I really love the writing process, and then talking to people about the lessons I learned and how they can apply them to their own lives.
I guess it's fair to say that there might be another book in the future.
There is. I'm working now. Hopefully you and I will be talking many times in the years to come.
I like that idea. So we'll finish off with this. Is there one other author, speaker, or content creator that you admire most? Something that inspires you or is for pure enjoyment? I love asking questions. I typically will ask maybe what your favorite movie is or your book, but I want to know if there's a certain auteur, if you would, that you admire most.
Well, it's funny you ask, because I admire Taylor Sheridan the most. He did the movie Hostels. He did Wind River. He did Hell and High Water. Those books, particularly if you look at Hostels and Wind River, most reflect accurately the collision between Anglo and Indian culture and show both sides of the story. He also did the series Yellowstone, where you see the good and the bad, because people view Indians as one or two ways, kind of caricatures you feel sorry for, or sort of Native American savages. They are neither. They're good people. They're great people. They're very intelligent, but they had their civilization destroyed and they got isolated. And I want to be inspired by somebody who says, let's look at their side. Let's understand them and let's find ways to connect. For me, I have to say, even though he isn't an author, it's Taylor Sheridan. I mean, the many great authors I love, Hemingway, Shakespeare, all the greats, but current modern people that I really admire. I would most like to meet him.
Great. I like it. David Crow, thanks for sharing your message today. Paleface Lie is out there. We'll send all the promotional links, and continued success to you, your family, and your business, and getting your message out there. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lou. Happy Thanksgiving to you and all the listeners, and thank you for this great opportunity.
You got it. And thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward.
And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts, and check us out on the web at thriveloud.com, or follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud.